Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, ministerial portfolios, the surprises, people to watch in Tinubu's 45-man cabinet. Also, Emefiele weeps in court as federal government files fresh charges. And later on the show, we'll be talking about Ecowas standby force not ready to invade Niger. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to also mention that we can only read comments whose names are clear and are about the issues discussed. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again today, BKO.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And the right thing to say is that the West African standby force is now ready.
Right.
Not ready. Now ready.
Yeah, not ready. That's actually what I said. It sounded like not.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it sounded like not. Yes.
Yeah, I thought as much. Right, so let's get into the topic for today. Let's start by asking you about how you received the news of the appointment of the ministers designate. Were there any surprises for you?
Of course, there were a number of surprises. First, I had pushed repeatedly for the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture to be split into two. But the president surprised me when he actually split it into three and enabling the tourism ministry to stand alone. We've always spoken about the tremendous potential of tourism. I have repeatedly demanded that there should be tourism and the entertainment component of that ministry should stand alone, along with culture. But what the president did was to create the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy. So creative economy will have movies, entertainment, the Davidos of this world, the Whiskies of this world, the Young John, the Zenoliskis of this world. They now have a ministry that they can call their own, in the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy, under the leadership of Hanatu Musawa, who is herself a fantastic writer, poet. So I wasn't expecting tourism to stand alone, but the president has done that, realizing that tourism has so much potential. Again, I expected that transport will be split up to have maritime stand on its own. But what we saw was that the president created the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. And he actually gave it a name that I didn't see coming. So that is also a surprise to me. And then Festus Keyamo, a man who was literally pulled up from the dead, got the aviation ministry. I didn't expect this. The ones that I expected, based on my contacts and all that, were Umahi for Works, which I actually predicted on Journalist Hangout, and Wike for FCT. I saw that coming. I mentioned it at least 3 times on Journalist Hangout, and Wike actually took the FCT ministry. So it's like the governor of FCT at this time. And there were other surprises to me. To have 2 former governors, 2 governors who just left in May from the Northwest, neighbors, become Minister of Defense and Minister of State for Defense. I didn't see that coming. It's a shock to me that the Northwest produce both the Minister of Defense as well as the Minister of State for Defense, both of them former governors. I thought, for example, that the former governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, would become the Minister of Agric. In fact, in my view, between him and Badaru, Muhammad Badaru, former governor of Jigawa, that will see one of them become the Minister of Agric. But the president made Senator Abubakar Kyari immediate past acting president of the APC, the Minister of Agriculture, Food Security, and he decided to move Atiku Bagudu, who is former lecturer, accountant, to budget. You know? So the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, the former president merged with Finance, has been split up again, and Atiku Bagudu will be in charge of that. A lot of other appointments that were made, appointments that are expected. Dele Alake, well, I thought Dele Alake would become the information minister, but it was Alhaji Idris, the publisher of Blueprint, whom I must admit did very well during the screening, that got that portfolio. So I didn't see it coming that Dele Alake will go to president. Has his reasons how to live with that.
Right, Biko, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. So it's one thing to appoint ministers, and another thing is the assignment of ministerial responsibilities. Who are the people to watch out for in President Tinubu's 45-man cabinet?
Yes, there are a number of them to watch out for. There are some ministries that by nature be in the news. The Ministry of Education, for example, would always be in the news because of the usual troubles here and there that happen, ASU strike, the rest of them. So whoever is occupying the Ministry of Information, of Education, is someone that will regularly be in the news because of the issues in that sector. And I think the president found the right person for that job, Professor Mama Tahir. Professor Mama Tahir had worked as an academic. The University of Maiduguri was dean of student affairs. He was head of department. He taught law at the school. He was in law school as deputy director general and later as director general, and then became VC at Bayes University, which is owned by the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. So I think the president and his people made a statement appointment by going to pick someone on the staff of um, a rival ticket, So, but he has the experience to get the job done. So all eyes will be on him. And the Ministry of Agric, you look at Ministry of Agric, we have Abubakar Kyari. Abubakar Kyari will have his job cut out for him because this government wants to do a lot of things in the area of agriculture and food security. They've already made up their minds that they are going to plant more than 50,000 hectares of uh, crops and all that. So he has job cut out for him. And talking about food security, he also knows that he has to be up and doing. Then big presidents of the world go and hold meetings with them. It's in terms of the scenic beauty, it is just a fantastic place. There are very few places that you can say actually more beautiful than Obudu, except perhaps Mambila, because Mambila is colder. Mambila has similar landscape, very beautiful place. So she needs to identify those stories, destinations, and try to see how Nigeria can really make a lot of money from them. I keep talking about Dubai, for example, and the UAE. They have oil in the UAE, but they've chosen to develop Dubai, make it number one tourist destination in the world. They sat down to do this, and they are achieving their aims, and they are making so much money from tourism. So there are many places across Nigeria, that we are just wasting them. Look at Perenrua, for example, in Nasarawa State. That's a waterfall. We have waterfalls in the southwest as well. We have boat regatta in Bayelsa, very colorful event. We have even the Arugungu Fishing Festival. So many tourist resorts, so many tourist destinations that we can improve in our country and earn us good money from tourism. So I think she's one minister to watch. And then talking about the blue economy, Minister of Blue Economy, that's Bumi Ojo. Bumi Ojo now has under his care a sector capable of giving Nigeria at least 7 trillion every year. We had neglected the shipping sector, neglected our waterways for too long. Now you see a country like Ghana trying to become the shipping hub of West Africa. The appointment of this minister should help us to ensure that that does not happen, because we have a lot that we can make, a lot of money that we can make in that sector. So you will find now that NEMASA, Federal Inland Waterways, Shippers Council, the Ports Authority, they will now come under this young man. And of course, we will expect him to revive Nigeria's small ports like Baro Port in Niger State, Onitsha, in the south as the minister in charge of health and coordinating minister for health. And then, of course, when you look at how we are struggling to rebuild our economy, Wale Edun, the coordinating minister for the economy, has a lot of work to do, and all eyes will be on him because he has to galvanize others, including the CBN governor, galvanize others to ensure that we achieve our aim. So all eyes will be on him. And then finally, the Attorney General of the Federation, Fagbemi. The Attorney General of the Federation is the most senior lawyer by hierarchy in the country. That is the only position that cannot be outsourced, that cannot be delegated to anyone. And the president is not even permitted to do that job by himself. That is one job that the Attorney General is the portfolio that is given to someone academically qualified for that role. You have to be academically qualified. Now we have in Fagbemi, a very experienced lawyer. Of course, Professor Tahir Mama is more experienced. I think was called to bar ahead of him. But the president, I believe, made a good choice in Fagbemi, and Nigerians want to see a lot of changes with less controversy and undue selfishness, as we saw with the last occupant of that position.
Right. So Raymond Osaz says, right.
So as for Wike, there are so many projects in Abuja now that are ongoing, bridge projects and all that. The coming of Wike will galvanize the people, the contractors and all that, and Wike will certainly deliver in terms of infrastructure development. He has shown that in that area he is very competent, is forward-looking. So the president wants someone who can make Abuja look much better again, and Wike is capable of doing that. So that's why I suspected I would be the Minister of FCT, and in the end,
he got it.
My prediction was very right.
Right. So let's change tack by looking at the suspended CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, who was in tears on Thursday as the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory adjourned his arraignment. How do you describe the turn in the trial of Mr. Emefiele?
You know, anyone in his shoes will probably break down. This is a man who had everything, who even flirted with the idea of becoming president of Nigeria. And since June 10th, he has been in detention. That's already more than 2 months. It was just a day after the president announced his suspension that he was detained. So the decision, of the court to not go ahead with his arraignment because one of his co-defendants was not in court must have paid him so much, because by the time he's arraigned, they will then begin to battle for his bail and all that. And he has seen clearly that the people who are put him in detention, they are not joking at all. They do not want him out of detention. Now, 20-count charge of conspiracy, of procurement fraud, conspiracy, and of conferring corruption advantages. This is an offense punishable with 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. You will remember that on July 25, he was arraigned on a 2-count charge of illegal firearms possession. They've chosen to withdraw that matter in preference for another case. They brought a different case against him, a case that has to do with his time at the CBN. And Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, under which he was charged, provides a 5-year jail sentence. And it says any public officer who uses his office or his position to gratify or confer any corrupt or unfair advantage upon himself or any relation or associate of the public officer shall be guilty of an offense and shall on conviction be liable to 5 years without an option of fine. So I guess they were looking for a charge that they can come up with that will leave no room for an option of fine, which means upon conviction, you go straight to jail. I guess they've been shopping and shopping for the case to bring against him. So this case now is to the tune of 6.9 billion The transaction is said to be 6.9 billion, and his co-defendants, Mr. and Mrs. Ramalan Yero, they had been arrested before now, released by the court, but the EFCC, I mean the DSS, refused to release the couple. Where the wife was sick, and because the wife was sick, that arraignment couldn't take place. But the husband has been in detention. The husband is also facing a different money laundering charge to the tune of 140 billion. So it's believed that these people have been working, and it's a lesson that power is not permanent, power is transient by nature, and when you use your position to inflict pain on your countrymen, you need to look back. You never can tell what fate will befall you when you lose power, or when you step out of the vortex of power or the vortex of influence. This is what we have seen with Emefiele. Many Nigerians lost their lives back in December and early January, when he decided to come up with the Naira redesign policy in a thoroughly and thoroughly unplanned. Oh, you know, side by side with diplomacy, we see threats of war, but it may not be the goal. I still believe that ECOWAS can get this job done without a resort to war. I still believe that both sides should be ready to make concessions. President Tinubu said that the Nigerian leaders will be held responsible if President Bazoum's health deteriorates. Of course, he's the ECOWAS leader, so people expect him to speak in this manner. I'm not convinced that war will happen. I still don't believe that war will happen. As you can see, there's no day set. At least they've not told us that this is the day that they will invade Niger Republic. I still think that reason will prevail, but I'm disappointed that the Nigerian leaders continue to dig in. General Abdul Salami and the Sultan again went to Niger Republic after the Nigerian leader apologized for not personally receiving General Abdul Salami. And again, the junta leader refused to come out to see them. Instead, it was the prime minister that they appointed that received that Nigerian delegation. The meeting lasted 90 minutes. We can only encourage those pushing for dialogue to triumph in this matter, to continue to work hard to ensure that dialogue prevails. I am convinced that we may not need to go to war. I don't think to go to war. I don't think if it was America, maybe by now they will have dropped some bombs so that the Nigerian junta no discuss. But I still think that ECOWAS will continue to push for a peaceful resolution of this matter, because the way it is, Chad could even get involved in the war, because Chad also has a military president. Burkina Faso, Mali. So the war could end up becoming extremely complicated, with some West African states actually jumping in to defend the Niger Republic. So it's better not to go into a complicated war, but they should continue to push for a resolution of this matter. And I don't think that even in this situation that you can stay rigid. If these guys will commit to an early um transition to civilian rule, I will gladly take it. I will gladly take it because they are consolidating with every passing day. And the more they consolidate, the more difficult it is for them to surrender power to a man that they had ousted. Secondly, the ousted president is in their hands. So that is an advantage to them and members of his family as human shield. And if you drop bombs anyhow, the collateral damage may be something that we'll be dealing with for years. So this matter has become really complicated and it needs a lot of wisdom. Let me read what Fatou Musa, the ECOWAS Commissioner for Public Affairs, Peace and Security said. Let no one be in doubt that if everything else fails, the valiant forces of West Africa, both the military and the civilian component, are ready to answer the call of duty. You know, and he also said that they've decided on the manner of intervention that will happen, that is required, and that the D-Day has been chosen. You know, of course, this is meant to show the Nigerians that they will not be allowed to remain in office. But again, those ones are responding to this threats by military junta has done. Somebody won an election by about 56%. You are accusing him of all kinds of things. And at the end of the day, this guy who has taken over will not want to give up power. He too will form what looks like a diarchy. He will sit tight and become a a civilian ruler. We've seen others like him do it in this continent, and especially this sub-region. So I won't be surprised if they survive this. If after a few years, they say they are transiting to civil rule, and it is the same military ruler that you see on the ballot, making life difficult for other people who could contest against him, and eventually imagine as a civilian president, you know? So it's so sad.
Right. So we've got to go because of our